Hi, this is Carol Mixon-Crandall from SkillCheck. Let's talk about targeting best customer satisfaction practices. How easy is your company to do business with? What makes your customers mad? What policies cause complaints and bad reviews? And can you make those right? Do reviews comment on bad employee behavior? And do you make storing easy and a pleasure for customers? When you look at these reviews, you can answer a lot of these questions. And these are concerns for me. I really hope that as opposed to fighting the customer online, we want to make storing easy. And your company policies will make a difference. And how about customer perception? What do customers say about storage companies? I always find if I don't have a little something to do, I can look at storage reviews. And I found a few you might be interested in. This one in particular, 1 star. Yeah, that's not so good. It just started out bad. The employees are rude and unprofessional. When you ask a question, the response is very unprofessional. The vocabulary is unheard of. I'm not sure what that means. And I asked a simple question and got a response like I was dumb instead of answering a question as professional as possible. I do not work or nor have I ever worked at a storage place. So apparently, if I don't know how it works, I'm going to ask. So why does one have to answer so rude and unkind? That's not how you welcome a paying customer. Well, that was nicely said, I guess. Some of the interesting things about this for me is the vocabulary is unheard of. And I'm thinking, what could she be talking about? And the only thing I could come up with is something maybe, for example, if you said, yeah, our Yardi ledger shows that you received a PLN and LN and you never responded and your lien notice has gone out, and unless you sign the declaration of opposition, you won't get your stuff back. So I guess maybe if we used acronyms or something like that, that maybe that's it, but I can't even imagine what would, cause this to be a 1-star review other than the way they were treated. That clearly comes through. She felt like they were rude and unkind. And the unkind part is rude's hard to get over, but unkind is really hard too. And that's why I love to hire friendly people, because you can't teach friendly. How about this one? I like this one too. This is from Brian. If you have an unexpected move out and have prepaid a month or more, they will not refund the prepaid amount even if you never utilize the service or still be there. It is underhanded and disgusting business practice. Essentially, they are comfortable stealing from customers. I would caution anyone from using the multiple month payment option because the management is loathsome. Oh, that's horrible, isn't it? I hope this warning prevents other customers from being taken advantage of by this underhanded and repulsive business practice. Wow, that's pretty strong. And I'm assuming this has to do with, we pay, if someone pays a full month in advance, they don't get any refunds, even if they say a day or two. I just feel like generally, I'm going to back up a second, because I have most of my stores would be on anniversary dates, so we don't even have to deal typically with too much of that. I would prorate someone out also, because I feel like those are good business practices. Some people don't like to do that, but I've done that because I think it's good for customers, and customers complain about it. So I like to prorate out and just be a little bit more customer friendly. But clearly this company does not. How about this one? Oh, this guy puts his whole name on there. But a 1-star review. Myself and my son rented a unit and found out that it had a swing door and got a credit. They charged us $184 and received a credit of 10, a credit of 15, and another credit of 21. Went in and they had no explanation, only excuses. I would strongly suggest against anyone renting from here. Okay, I'm clearly, this is not easy to understand. I mean, I understand that they rented something with a swing door, but let me start out by saying if they would have shown the space, I'm guessing they may not have shown the space to the customer. That is a practice that I always do. I always show a space to a customer. My employees know that you show a space before you actually rent it. And I can tell you the times that I have not done that, I have had all kinds of things come up, and then there are problems, and I have to transfer, or a customer gets upset, because again, there's a swing door instead of a roll-up door or something like that. So, and then the weird thing is, I'm not sure why they would give 3 separate credits, the management trying to do something, But unfortunately, he feels like no one should even rent there because of that. Now, my question is if there's no response from the company, then clearly then the guy just goes to this and wouldn't rent from him. They should have called him back and said, hey, what can we do? If that doesn't work, we can move you to another one. We can get you into another space or whatever. So, and just trying to make it right instead of letting this go and be out there for people to look at, because it's not a positive thing. I brought one out that was from SkillCheck because I just thought that was a great idea. It's an old one, but SkillCheck is awesome, especially Desiree. Doggone it, they didn't say Carol. They just put Desiree on there. We have used their services for a couple of years now and have had a great experience. Desiree is always friendly, communicates quickly, and their prices are very reasonable. We've done in-person shops and phone shops for our storage facilities. Thank you, Desiree, for all your help. And we've had a one useful and a one funny. I'm not so sure. Well, to me, it's funny, but no, I did not do the funny one on there. I probably would have been cool. But when you try, and obviously I need to practice what I'm preaching, especially for SkillCheck, not on my storage properties, but we need to get as many of these types of reviews as possible. We've got to ask our customers for reviews and be more active in doing that because it really does help. Now, think about this. I want you to diligently manage the customer reviews. That means weekly looking at your reviews. And that might, I don't know, all the different places you may have, and maybe Google, maybe Yelp, wherever you have reviews. And make sure you're responding well. Now, some companies don't allow the managers to respond. They do that from the home office. But I want you to remember not to take it personally and try to fix the problem in the review. And sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's too late. They've moved out. They say there's mice in the unit. I mean, I've had all kinds of things over the years. Some were my fault, or some of the company's fault or whatever, and some were the customer's fault. But when it becomes so public and personal, it's just better to take the high road and apologize and try to make it right. And I've, offered free rent. I've offered to pay things back to customers for damaged things. I've always tried to make that right. But try to fix the problems and the review if you can. That's not so easy to fixing, especially with Yelp. It's not easy to fix a review on Yelp for sure. And don't let your response be snarky. And I chose snarky word because I thought, sometimes I read some of the responses and I'm surprised. And I will tell you, I recently did a seminar somewhere. I won't tell you where it was. And I had about 100 managers in the room, and the managers were writing responses to a bad review. So the bad review was up on the projector, and so they all had to write, and they got together as a group. And I found it really interesting that instead, I said, try to make it where it's friendly and positive, and it's going to be up in where the public can see it. I was surprised how many people blamed the customer for the issues, as opposed to, well, you did this and you did this, and so we're not responsible for that and whatever. And so explaining or justifying what they did. This is in the public. I think if your response is something like that, it's not going to come across well. You should say, please contact us. We would like to resolve this, and don't make all of it public. And then that way you can resolve it on your own. But when you try to resolve things, it doesn't help to always think that you're in the right. And you may be in the right with the rental agreement, whatever your policies are and all of those things, but is it really worth a bad review and something that people were going to read a lot of? And I just I feel very strongly about the review and not having something bad go up. If you have a choice of being nasty or nice, I hope the nice one's out, because really that's where you want to be, is kind and nice as you can, and be eloquent if you can along the way. And don't point the finger. Just try to rise above. That would be, my dad always was working with me to try to just say, don't let it bother you. Just answer the best you can and do the best you can, and don't take it personally. And I think that's what, and sometimes it is personal. When it is personal, then you feel as if you have to respond with something else, and you really need to just rise above that. And it doesn't help if you're listening to any kind of politics right now, because none of that is going to help us at all. There is no sort of good example there. Now, let's talk about the customer feedback. Actively ask for customer feedback from your happy customers. I did a shop just recently in the LA area, and I went in and did an actually mystery shop, and then I did some training afterwards. And when I was talking to the manager, I said, "Hey, I noticed you had a lot of reviews and a lot of really good reviews when I looked at your store." And she said, "Yes, I've gotten 75 reviews this month." And I said, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, I just realized, we kind of had this contest going on." And she said, when customers were coming in, I said, "Hey, I could really use a review where, our company's asking for reviews from our customers. And, I would really appreciate any reviews you give. And it just helps me." And she got 75 in 1 month for asking people. I find that fascinating. And when you see that many reviews or that many people that are happy with it, she said, I think there are a couple of them that gave her 4 stars or something, but still, everything was really good about her. And it might have been something, well, it wasn't, the space wasn't close enough or something like, but she said, unbelievably, they were almost all 5-star reviews. So that is cool. I love that. So you need to actively ask for customer feedback. I have even put up computers inside the office and had them right on Yelp or right on Google to where they can just walk right over and do a Yelp or Google review very easily. We've even helped elderly people like get an account and put them in and in fact I've even had managers sometimes type it for the person and say, "What do you want to say about me?" And so it's kind of cute, but it does work. And remember, the other thing that you can do is give directions to give feedback on printed cards. When you have a rental, you could give them a card that you want to, if you want Yelp reviews or Google reviews or wherever reviews, you might put them a card that tells how to do it, because not all people know how to do it. It's a good reminder for them when they get home. So remember, give them something to help them to give you those Google reviews or Yelp reviews or whatever reviews, wherever you want the reviews. So, company self assessment. Sometimes employees and supervisors and owners find a hear no evil, see no evil, do no evil kind of attitude about customers that are unhappy or in things that happen at the store that aren't good. I really want you to think about this, because when we don't address problems, it's a concern. Are you addressing and fixing customer problems and issues? Well, there's the question. And I can tell you, there's lots of not me, their fault, his fault, her fault, owner's fault, whatever going on. And I'm listening to the managers. I'm like, you're the manager. You can fix this. This didn't have to go all the way to me. So I want you to listen to your customers and keep in mind that you may have to do some investigation. You may have to say, let me look into this and see what I can find out, and then I'll get back to you. That's okay too. You don't have to be mean about it. Just say, I want to actually research this a little and see what I can do. And typically you are the customer service department, right? So make sure you act as if you care and you take it in initiative to fix the problem. I noticed a review recently where the people finally moved out because the manager wouldn't change the light in the space. And he said, "Hey, I can do it myself." He said, if you guys have a ladder or something so I could get up there, I don't mind doing it." But he said, "It's like the 4th time I've come in here to ask for this." And then finally he just moved out. So if you are the customer service department, make sure you act like you care and you take initiative to fix those problems. And you have to show genuine concern. If a customer comes up and he said, "Hey, I have a door that swings open." And you were like, "Yeah, most doors swing open." But he somehow in his mind, he was thinking it was going to be a roll-up door. And who knows? And sometimes the swing doors don't open all the way so where you can get things through the hallway very easily. Sometimes that's not all the time, but I mean, it depends on if it's a retrofit or something like that. I've had to put different types of doors in there. Don't put off problems. You want to get on them right away. Otherwise, they just fester and get worse. And then people will get mad and they leave bad reviews, and it just makes it go where you don't want it to go, or where it's hard to fix at least. Customer friendly policies. Wow. I even, in storage, we kind of usually have our policies written up. So it says, and I turned it into be a good neighbor. And instead of putting don't or you can't or don't let your dogs out of the car or don't let your dogs on the property, don't have dogs on the property, don't let your kids out, any of those, I always say be sure to be careful and don't allow your kids to be roaming, so it's dangerous. I always put it in a positive way. I like my managers to say things positively because they're managing the store, but they also have to be kind and caring to people, and realizing that, whether it's they're keeping their dog inside their car as opposed to letting it out, it's important because we don't want the dog hurt or anyone else hurt on the property. This means we really need to be able to sometimes waive fees when appropriate, or to do something for the customer when we've done something wrong. I've had gates go down before, and the customers couldn't get in to get their the things they needed to work with, possibly different things, and I've given them something, as opposed to saying, well, sorry, it just wasn't working, we can't do anything about it, it went down or somebody hit it. And just give them something. It is not going to kill you to do something when someone else is inconvenienced. And you may ask your supervisor for assistance. Sometimes you're so close to the situation, maybe you've made a mistake, or the person irritates you to the point where you don't even want to deal with them. But it makes me worry if you don't like the person and that you try to resolve it. It's sometimes easier for the supervisor to come in and say, hey, oh yeah, can you call these people because they're upset, and I really, hopefully we can make it right and keep them here, as opposed to and not get a bad review, right? Ben, remember, I believe very much like this customer, this person here that's sawing off, and maybe that's not a customer, maybe that's a manager that's sawing on that limb. And I think if you don't do things right and have company policies that are bad, you're just asking for trouble. And this just looked like a picture that's asking for trouble for me. So, policies and procedures. As a company, you need to determine which policies cause the most grief in your company. Look at those. Look at those first and say, here are the ones that the most of the time we have a problem with. And this may be in a meeting that you all have if you have multiple locations, and talk about it. And then talk about late fees. I allow my managers to waive late fees, and not, I would first, the first one would be an obvious one. That's a courtesy waive, their first late fee. And then after that, I have to leave it up to the manager's discretion. I know that sometimes I've said, oh, nothing after the first one. Well, if 3 years later they have another one and they're still there, the manager needs to manage. And that is so critical. And if you're a manager, you need to be able to do that and keep a customer and not make them upset over a stupid late fee. I know it's revenue, but still. Problems with the space or the usage of the space, again, the gate access not working, or the space paid up but overlocked. We've overlocked the wrong one and then they can't get in. You know what? I think we owe them something. If they've come to the store and they can't get in on a Saturday and you've got it overlocked, and they have never been late and it was supposed to go on the one next to it, and the person just, when they went out, they put it on the wrong space, that is your problem. Or let's say I've had situations where we've rented on a Friday, and the manager forgot to go take off the overlock. So the person came with a rental truck, and they had people there to help. They got pizzas for the people that were helping to move, and they got there and they couldn't get the lock off. And when they called and for assistance, they got no assistance. So I comped them like several $100s. I comped them for the truck. I made it right because it was my problem. My employees did something wrong, and I owed them something for that, and I made it right. And the funny thing is the responses that I've gotten from that online, where they said, hey, they did something wrong, but they made it right. That goes a long way for people. It makes you think that, you know what, we make mistakes, but we're going to make them right if we do make a mistake. So the other thing is, have a place for complaints to go besides the internet. I have a thing that I got from a friend of mine in Florida, and they had a little thing that went on their front door, and it says, if you're happy with us, tell a friend. If not, call this 800 number. And we had an 800 number that came into our office, and we answered those calls, and we very common, the gate code's not working, something like that. With all the technology, we can actually get a gate code working and do that really quickly and easily for someone remotely for most of our stores. But the interesting thing about this is, have a place for complaints other than the internet. And that may be, you could do those, a complaint thing in the office, or some way that they can interact and get some feedback. And I love the 800 number, because that, especially for larger companies, is a great way to do that. Thank you so much for listening to Targeting Best Customer Satisfaction Practices. My name is Carol Mixon Crindle from SkillCheck. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm going to work on getting one of these out every single week. I don't know if I'm going to make that goal, but I'm going to certainly try. And we're here talking about everything self-storage, and I absolutely love this business, and I'm proud to be in it. And if you're trying to get a hold of me, contact me at carol@skillcheck.com and give us a call, and we'll help you with all your training and self-storage evaluation needs we can do. Thanks a lot.